Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. I'm on my laptop again today, so forgive the sound quality if it's poor, but I really want to take a look at a puzzle from yesterday's US Puzzle Championship. This is an annual online competition and always has the highest quality puzzles. So contributors include Nicoli, and this puzzle from yesterday's test is by Adam R. Wood, who is one of the finest setters that you'll find anywhere in the world. And it's an odd form of Sudoku. So let's just take a quick look at the rules for this form of Sudoku. So it's normal up to the point here where it says, additionally, no odd digit appears more than once in any diagonal of any length. The grid is checkered for your convenience, and a 20-point puzzle. So a 20-point puzzle, that's going to be, even the very best in the world are expected to take sort of 8-10 minutes on this type of puzzle, I would suggest, which means it should be a fairly stiff test. Now, if you want to have a go at the puzzle, you can do that just by clicking on the link under the video. That'll take you to our software. You'll see exactly what I'm seeing here, and you can have a go. But without further ado, I'm now going to have a go and see how I get on. The US Puzzle Championship, by the way, it doesn't major on Sudoku at all. It's got loads of different puzzle types, and definitely I hope to cover several of them, or several of the puzzles that are featured in yesterday's test over the coming days and weeks on the channel. So look out for some very high quality content from that exam. Now, I've done some stuff with sixes, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing clever about what I'm doing there. I can pencil mark some twos. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to use this odd diagonal constraint fairly early on. Twos. Can't see how to do much more with twos. Right. Okay. So let's think about this. We need to use these odd numbers, and in terms of odd numbers, I've got 1 5 in the grid, 1 9 in the grid, 2 7s in the grid, and 3 3s in the grid. So probably the 3's the place I'm going to. Yes, we can start with the 3's. Look at this top left box and ask where a 3 can go. There can't be a 3 on the leading diagonal because of the 3 in the central square. There can't be a 3 in either of these two squares because of the 3's in the bottom right box. So that this square must be a 3. That means this square is a 3. 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 And that means this square is a 3. So bizarrely enough, that one constraint gave us all the 3's in the puzzle. So let's now, what was the next best number? 7's. There are 2 7's in the grid. I can't think for the life of me how on earth can these resolve themselves? Well, actually, this 7, it sees these two squares in the top left again. So the 7's are on the leading diagonal there. Oh, wow. And now, where can a 7 go in this box then? It can only go here, because these 7's up on the top left hand side are checking all of the dark squares there. This square must be a 7. This square can't be a 7 because it sees this square, so this square must be a 7. Oh, hang on. Sorry, brief interruption. Now, I was looking at 7's, so I think I've just got this one. So this square here sees this 7, obviously. So there's a 7 in one of these. Ah, no, in fact, good grief. So believe it or not, this arrangement of 7s leaves only one position in the central 3x3 which can be a 7. And I think that's this square. This square sees this 7. This square sees these 7s. This square sees this 7. And this square sees all these other 7s. So this square here must be a 7. And now let's messing about. Now that means that we need some 7s in one of these two squares. This square sees the 7 down there, so just in one of those top two positions. In fact, that can't be a 7, look, because of the 7 down there. Oh yes, and there's a nice trick. So now the 7s in box 1 are locked into rows 1 and 2, one of these two positions. 7s in box 2 locked into rows 1 and 2. So I've not yet managed to put a 7 in row 3. So I know it must be in box 3. It must be in one of these two positions. And you can see it can't be here. Not by diagonal rules, but by normal Sudoku rules. So this square must be a 7. Now I've got 7s in. Well, this can't be a 7. You can see I need a 7 in one of these two positions by simple Sudoku rules, but this square here sees that 7 there. So, in fact, that's going to give us all 7s like that, which is really nice. So, I've done 3s, I've done 7s. I've not yet used 5s or 9s, but this 5 is a bit more powerful because of the top box now. There must be a 5 in one of those two squares. Yes, and now look, these 3 white squares are seen by this 5 here. So there must be a 5 in one of those two positions, which means there's a 5 in one of 3 positions in box 3. And can we do any better than that? I'm being a bit slow here. 5s. You can see in the central box the 5s are locked into 3 positions. I'm highlighting them all because I'm just trying to. Hang on. It's so difficult to see this, but this 5, well, it's difficult for me to see it. Let me be more precise. Sees these 2 white squares in the bottom right box. So there's 5s on the lead diagonal there, which means that this is not a 5, and this is not a 5 up at the top. So there is a 5 there. Now, this 5 sees this 5, which means this square is a 5. This is quite incredible construction. Quite incredible. 5 in one of these two positions. This square obviously sees this 5, which means that this is not a 5. 5 in this square. This sees that position. This 5 also sees that one. So again, we're actually able to place a 5 there. Let's remove the 5 from this position and think. Now, normal Sudoku suggests there's a 5 in one of these 3 positions, but you can see this 5 sees that one, and that 5 sees that one. So it must be here, which means this is a 5, and we get to finish the 5s as well. So I have to latch this door. Sorry, 1 second, more problems. Okay, managed to close my door. Now we were looking at 5s. I think I've done all the. Oh no, I haven't done all the 5s, but there must be a 5 in this square in this block, so that's easy enough to fill in. That's normal Sudoku, nothing clever about that. Let's move the cursor out of the way. Now, This 2 now is more powerful than it was because we have this 2 by 2 box in the central square. So now I can pencil mark some 2s into those 2 squares, pencil mark 2s into those 2 squares, which marries up nicely. Look, we've got 2s in this box 3 here, locked into columns 8 and columns 9. And the 2s here are also locked into column 8 and column 9. That means the 2 in column 7 must be in one of those 2 squares. Oh, gorgeous. This puzzle is sensationally good. Now we've got the same logic we can do with the 2s here, look. 2s again locked into rows 7 and 8 this time. 2s over here locked into rows 7 and 8. So where am I going to put a 2 in row 9? There's only one possible square, and that's here. Ah, that gives me another 2 there. And right, okay. You can see now that we've got this sort of symmetrical arrangement of 2s. Now I'm not going to be able to break that open without getting another digit to disturb the arrangement. So I now need to think about something else. I'm going to try using the 9 now. It's the only odd digit I haven't used apart from 1, and we haven't got any 1s at all in the grid. So what can we do with this? I mean, it seems bizarre to me, but it felt bizarre with the 5s that I actually managed to finish the 5s off with just 1 5 in the grid. This 9 also looks very lonely. Well, I guess I can pencil mark 9s into one of those 2 squares, which means that the 9s in this box are locked into one of those 2 squares. See, again, it seems incredibly unlikely that that is important. How on earth do I make progress from here? Maybe. So this 9 sees this. This 9 sees these 2. 9s are locked into one of these 2 squares. Therefore, there's no 9 in this square. So maybe I have to look at where 9s can go in the bottom left box. So, right, well a 9 could go here, I think. I can't see why it couldn't. A 9 could go here, a 9 could go here, and a 9 could go here. Now, is that useful? 9 can't go in this square, obviously, because of the 9 there. Now, wait a minute. This 9 here means the 9s in this box are locked into one of those 4 positions. Now, the thing to note there is that they are in row 5 and row 6, just as the 9s we've locked over here are in row 5 and row 6. So the 9s in the central blocks are in one of those 2 squares. Now these 9s are interesting because now it's impossible for this square to contain a 9, because if this square contains a 9, it sees this in one direction on the diagonal and this in the other direction on the diagonal. So this is not a 9. There must be a 9 in one of those 3 positions. Now, unfortunately, I'm not sure I see how that's useful. Oh, wait a minute, that square. This square can't be a 9, because this square sees this square on the diagonal and this square in the row. So that is not a 9. And now, again, we've got 9s locked into columns 1 and 2 here, and 9s here locked into columns 1 and 2. So the 9 in this box is in one of those 2 squares. I mean, this is very hard and very clever. Now, can we do any better than that? Maybe I have to use another digit somehow to limit this down. I've not looked at 4s very much. 4s affect this bottom left box. Let's just take a look at that. There could be a 4 here. There could be a 4 here. Is there any way of disambiguating those options? Hang on. There's a 4 locked into one of those two squares. There's a 4 in one of these three positions. Must be careful not to use the diagonal constraint on 4s, because obviously 4 is an even number, and therefore that would be wrong. Now, actually, we can do a similar trick, can't we, over here? This square can't be a 9, because if this was a 9, then neither of these squares could be a 9, so that's not a 9. So the 9s are locked into one of these two squares. Is that enough to crack this? Obviously there can't be a 9 here now, but we knew that anyway because of the 9 down there. Be really careful now. If this square is a 9, you can see it immediately has a very profound impact on everything, forcing 9s all round the grid. And of course the problem that you get into here is that now, in terms of where a 9 can go up here, neither of these squares can be a 9 because they're hit on the diagonal, and yet they have to be 9 because of the 9s we've placed in these two positions. Now, I question whether there's probably a neater way of spotting that than just noticing that the diagonals get very cluttered. So do let me know in the comments, actually. I'm not going to be able to spend more time on this now. But I mean, this certainly is a logical way of making progress. I just feel there's probably a slightly neater way of doing it. So let's go back, and we've noted this square can't be a 9 because it blocks the diagonal. So this square here is going to be a 9. And now, obviously, this square here cannot be a 9. And let's see what that gives us. This square here can't be a 9. Neither of these squares can be a 9, so there's now a 9 in one of these two positions, which I guess is nice. Now this can't be a 9 now because it sees the 9 on the diagonal, therefore we get a 9 here, a 9 here, and it's amazing the way that this whole puzzle, all of these odd numbers are so incredibly interrelated. Now this 9 sees this 9, so this must be a 9, this must be a 9, and this must be a 9. You can see that the moment I put that 9 in, that last 9 there, I actually am able to unwind a 4 because I had a 4 pencil marked in this square here. Now let's get rid of the 9 pencil mark there. Now this 4 is powerful. That's going to mean this is a 4, this is a 2. That means I get to unwind the 2 there as well. Is that as much as we can do? Maybe. So we've... no, we can go further. The 4's at the top now. No 4 in either of these two squares. Must be a 4 in one of those squares. So this is a 4. So, and actually this is a 4 as well because of the 4 we've got down there. So we lock a 4 into one of those positions, we lock a 4 into one of 3 positions over here, and we still haven't cracked it. But look, in this box, the 1 and the 8, which are the only digits left, are on the lead diagonal again. So this square cannot be a 1. There must be a 1 in one of those two positions, and this square obviously cannot be a 1. So this must be the 1 in the bottom box. This is an 8. Must be an 8 in one of those squares. And in terms of the 1, there's 3 positions for the 1. But same logic again. This one, let's get rid of that cursor. Apologies. This square can't be a 1. Because if this is a 1, I can't put a 1 in the central 3x3. Both of these squares would see a 1 in this position. So actually that's not a 1. The 1 is in one of these two squares. Ah, brilliant. Now that means that's a 1. Which means this is a 1 and this is an 8. This one now sees this one on the diagonal. You couldn't make this up. This is quite incredible setting. Now, obviously this 1 and 8 now unwind over here as well. We get an 8 and a 1 like that. An 8 and a 2 into those two squares. This now must be a 2 because of the 2 we've just found. This is therefore an 8. This must be a 4 to complete the row. Now, we can eliminate the 2 here. So we've got a 1 and a 4 here. They probably see something on a diagonal, but I'm not quite seeing which. We've got 1 and 8 into these two squares, so that is resolvable. This must be an 8. So 1 in one of these two squares. Now, again, yes, this 1 sees this square. So this is the 1, this is a 6, this is a 6, therefore. This is staggering. What a staggering puzzle this is. Now this square sees this 1. So finally, we're going to finish it. This must be an 8. This is a 1. 8, 4. Finally, 1, 4. Absolute genius. Adamar would take a bow. Absolutely magnificent setting. I hope you guys enjoyed that puzzle. I'd be very interested to hear from you in terms of how long it took you, whether you got to grips with it quickly, and above all, really, what you thought of it. You know, did you appreciate as much as I did just what a work of art that is? Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the channel and you're not subscribed, do consider it. We really appreciate it. And I'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.